Hello and welcome back to another Bad Movie Reviews review hosted by your favourite Stuckmanized film lover from down under, Ben. If you know, you know with that intro, I'm reviewing none other than a film that I've known about for quite a while, and that is none other than Shelby Oaks. Now, if you are familiar, fellow YouTube film reviewer Chris Stuckmann, who I've watched for many years, and I knew this was happening once he announced his Kickstarter, obviously, campaign, which did exceptionally well. And then since then, obviously, anticipating the release to get a theatrical release, obviously, Mike Flanagan came on board, but he's none other than Shelby Oaks, which is a film he wrote with his partner, and he's directed the film himself, put it on Kickstarter, did exceptionally well, and now we're here. It is getting a theatrical release. First of all, impeccably achieved, really, coming from doing film reviews, loving film, to doing it on his own, obviously with the backing of the fans he's raised and have watched him over the years. You know, fair play to Chris Stuckmann. But in terms of the film itself, which I'll get into, I believe it's coming out in a week's time. Luckily enough to catch a preview of this. And I just got to say, I think Chris Stuckmann has the talent there to be a really, really great director. The film itself, love the way it starts. It feels very honorary, like it feels like it's paying a lot of homage and honoring a lot of the horror films that you can tell Stuckmann has loved over the years, that he's reviewed or talked about. And there's a lot of kind of other films in this, whether it be like Nightmare on Elm Street, even um, Hereditary vibes at times. There's a lot of films here that is clearly he's taking somewhat of a a lot of love from, and it might have been a inspiration to him. I think overall the film, really from a technical standpoint, is really well done. I think the direction, the cinematography at times, visually the film looks great. The sound, the score, it's very atmospheric, which I give major props to. Obviously, the film itself is about a woman who's in searching for her sister who's been long lost for a decade or so now. And the way the film started really captured me, and I loved the fact that it started with like a found footage like type situation, but also the documentary style. So like it merges a lot of interesting filmmaking techniques, and the aspect ratio changes I was a really big fan of. And technically the film's great in my opinion. And the cast, you've got Sarah Dunn, who I thought was really good in the film, who plays Riley. Um, she was really good, and then Camille, who plays Mia, who obviously the main actress is in the film. But overall, the whole cast is good. I think where I'm slightly not so much disappointed, but I just feel like it's somewhat formulaic, and I know obviously I said it pays homage in ways or takes inspiration from previous horror films of the past. It doesn't necessarily write a new book in that regard. It feels very much like something I've seen before. But overall, I think the weakest point of the film, to be honest, is the actual story itself, the screenplay, the script. It's just something that, while there tries to be twists and turns, it doesn't really feel like something that shocked me, and it's not really something. While it's something that I'm sure everyone, if they had a sister lost, it didn't allow me to. While I thought the performances were great, I don't think the writing or the way the screenplay script flowed allowed me to feel a huge amount of empathy for what they were going through. And overall, I think that just didn't necessarily hit hard for me or hit home, which is disappointing. Overall, from a technical standpoint, as I said, though, I think this is a really great start, especially for someone who, I think the budget's 1 mil. Visually, as I said, the film looks great. There are some visual effects in there that do look a bit iffy, but I think the film's made for like 2 million all up. So taking that into account, it's not really something common where you see films made for $2 million that hits a big budget, or hits a a cinema for that matter for a theatrical release. But I'd love to genuinely. I would love to see what Stuckmann does next, because I'd love to see him direct something again, whether it be a horror film, whether it be a different film entirely. I do think the weak point of the film entirely was the story and the script, because it just didn't feel anything new, unfortunately. But overall, there's a lot of upside here. There's definitely, in my opinion, a really promising filmmaker in Chris Stuckmann, which is wild to see because I watched his YouTube videos, YouTube reviews growing up, and kind of somewhat inspired me to share my opinion. So it's kind of a full circle in a way for me. So I'm kind of really proud and really happy to just see this film out there, to be honest. I do think it is inspiring for people watching, potentially for people, on YouTube or who have a dream. The fact that he, made these reviews and then he's brought out a theatrical, release with the help of Mike Flanagan, who I know he's reviewed films of in the past, and his TV shows. So overall, I think if you're a fan of Stuckmann, you're probably interested. It is worth seeing in that regard, because I do think this is a very promising start to potentially a great filmmaking career. So here's hoping, if you like the review, give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe for more, and we'll see you next time.